Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Comic Relief, the new weekly podcast for all things comics, comic cinema adaptations, and anything else that makes you want to get down and nerdy. We are your hosts. I'm Xander, and we are going to be talking about the next addition to Marvel's slate of Disney Plus properties, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Okay, so I'm gonna be totally honest. When I first heard that they were doing this little, like, in my opinion, like a buddy cop series, I was kind of just like, meh. I don't know. I wasn't sure how to feel about it. Especially since where they left off, it was kind of just like, I don't know. It just felt like everything else was like super amped up with all the, you know, powerful beings and stuff like that, and then you're trying to bring it back down to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who don't necessarily have any powers.
Well, see, that's kind of why I was excited for it, because it was like they kind of oversold a lot of stuff leading up to Endgame, and then Endgame kind of was just like, okay, well, where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
We try to take it back to our roots while still expanding on what we've already done. So like they start out with the fantastical type show like WandaVision,
Mm-hmm.
like we got with the original Thor movie almost, and then they're introducing like Falcon and the Winter Soldier with the more grounded type feel like we got with Iron Man and Captain America: The First Avenger.
Okay.
So it's kind of starting us off on those roads that will eventually converge again.
Now, do you think that
Secret Invasion? But
I will say one thing. Do you think that there is something in the works of hopefully like showcasing these characters' abilities to go up against these more powerful folk just by using their sheer wit and cunning and training?
I'm hoping so. Which if anybody's seen the latest trailer they put out on Monday, it's the final trailer before the show premieres. They showed a lot more of Bucky and Sam's feats per se, like you can see. Like there's a quick scene where it shows Bucky grabbing a knife with his non-robotic hand, which just shows how fast his reflexes are as a natural human being. Well, sort of natural human being. Sam's on like the tractor trailer fighting like 3 different people with him in his wings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. And I'm starting to wonder, after watching that trailer, these anarchists or this rebel group that they're going against, are they normal anarchists or are they super soldiers?
That's what I was thinking too. Like how on earth are these guys even like coming close to being able to have the upper hand on someone like Winter Soldier?
Right.
Like I was just watching them like, yo, he's actually struggling over here. Like,
yeah.
And he's gone up toe to toe with Captain America.
Well, he's gone toe to toe with a couple different people. I mean, he went toe to toe with Captain America. He went toe to toe with Iron Man. He went. Who else did he fight in Civil War?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. He had to fight Spider-Man. He fought Spider-Man with Bucky or with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 of them fought Spider-Man together and did okay until Spider-Man started webbing up their stuff. So I mean, if they can go toe to toe,
that's my boy. Guys, when in doubt, just shoot your web. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Wait. Oh no.
Hold
phrasing. Is this a family-friendly show?
No, this is not a family-friendly show. Also,
Okay,
speaking of warnings, in case we actually touch on anything from WandaVision at all, and you haven't watched WandaVision, there is a spoiler alert in effect. Just in case we touch on anything that, you know, you haven't seen yet, this is your one and final warning, unless you come into the middle of the show and you you type in chat spoilers.
Yeah.
Well then I'm sorry.
Well, then you should have been here sooner. You should have been here at the start. And honestly, if you haven't watched WandaVision yet, what are you doing with your life?
Right? It's been like, what? 2 weeks now? It's been 2 weeks since it's ended.
The show's ended, and if you haven't seen like the majority of it, then what are you doing? And if you had avoided spoilers this long, then it's impressive. Honestly.
Facts. Like you probably don't have social media.
Right, you can't. Twitter, TikTok, none of it. It's everywhere.
Like you probably still run your own Xanga account, if that is even still around. You guys remember Xanga?
Staying isolated in Club Penguin.
Oh my god.
And Neopets.
Oh my god, I remember Neopets. Oh my god, I missed that shit. But anyway, focusing on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes. Ooh, Sammy, you don't own Disney Plus? That hurts. That hurts. I'll send you my login. But anyway, so the kind of structure that I wanted to tackle this was focusing on the first main trailer that comes out, and I kind of skipped over the very opening sequence with like the therapist or the psychoanalyst or whatever. But I did want to touch on that real quick because I'm wondering. So
now
at some point
about the Super Bowl spot, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was like the first like official full trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to why they're even seeing this. They obviously they look like they work for the government, so this has got to be a psychoanalyst. This is not like a therapy session. This is actually a psychoanalyst. Yeah. But at what point between Civil War and now, how weren't they on Cap's side? And Cap's side was against the Sokovia Accords, against the government.
Yeah. So I'm thinking what ends up happening. I know there were hints at how they kind of reformed S.W.O.R.D. after the events of Endgame. Like, I know if they're going by comic storylines, after the events of the Infinity War,
right?
General Ross starts his own team away from the government. It's government funded, but it's not really controlled by the government.
Are you referring to the Thunderbolts?
I'm referring to the Thunderbolts, and I'm referring to the Revengers.
Okay.
And they've been teasing a Thunderbolts movie for years. So
yeah,
I'm wondering if we're going to be leading into something like that. But I'm thinking that this new phase is going to start revolving around S.W.O.R.D.
Yeah.
Where I think they're more of the Spec Ops division of S.W.O.R.D. because the events of, was it Civil War, where Baron Zemo was?
Yep.
I think this is picking up directly after that, because I'm sure this whole time that they were focused on Thanos and saving the entire the universe, that.
Oh, you're saying chronologically this is taking place?
Well, I mean, it's after Endgame. We know that for sure because this is post Endgame, post Captain America, going back through time and living his life. But I think villain wise, it's picking up after the events set in motion from Civil War. Right. Like what Baron was trying to do.
There was one thing I saw just before I hopped on here, and I was actually gonna send you. I was gonna send you the post on Instagram, but it's according to this post, it's been confirmed that Falcon and the Winter Soldier takes place like 6 months after Endgame. So that places it in between WandaVision and Spider-Man Far From Home. Because Spider-Man Far From Home takes place 8 months after Endgame. So WandaVision takes place weeks after. Yeah, if not a week.
2 weeks? I think it was like 2 weeks after is what they said it was. So it's like you have Endgame finishes, WandaVision picks up directly after that. Then there's, I guess, a time break where things aren't filled in quite yet. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yep. So that's what we're looking at currently.
Okay. So they're working on filling in that time gap, which sets up what the rest of the characters were up to during this entire time.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was doing his thing.
Which throws me off completely because the next one after Falcon and the Winter Soldier is supposed to be Black Widow, right?
Yeah, but Black Widow was originally supposed to come out last year. So this
Black Widow is supposed to take place like before Endgame.
Yeah, it's supposed to take place
probably
before
even
a lot
before.
of movies.
Let's see. I'm actually gonna look this up right now. Black Widow.
Actually, I need to find the actual schedule because I don't remember.
Black Widow is set to take place between the events of Captain America: Civil War and Avengers: Infinity War.
Okay. So I know after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we get Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess is the next thing Loki?
I think so.
Because it says June, but there's something that comes out after Black Widow, I'm sure. Is this supposed to be, it says Black Widow releases in May 7th. I'm trying to find the list that shows...
Shang-Chi is July 9th.
Okay, so Shang-Chi got moved up.
Yeah, so but there's
a series
Loki yeah, Loki comes out in May. It just doesn't say when in May.
Okay, so it'll be the week after.
I don't know
Black
if this is
Widow,
updated.
because I know the schedule that I found before, like the official release schedule.
Okay, the one I'm looking at was updated December 15th. So there's got to be a more recent one. Here we go. March 9th. Release dates.
So Falcon and Winter Soldier's March 19th, and that goes up until Black Widow in May.
Loki comes out in, they moved it to June. Loki's been moved to June.
So we have a couple weeks between Black Widow and Loki.
Yeah.
And then Shang-Chi comes out after
July
Loki
9th.
Finishes.
Yeah.
And then What If, which is an animated series, comes out after that, which is going to be interesting because it's not actually going to add anything to the story. It's just going to be kind of filler.
However, it was stated that the What If series is canon.
Yes, it is canon because the What If stuff does actually happen in like a multiverse.
The multiverse.
Standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get Hawkeye after that.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Marvel is a show or a movie?
Show. That's going to be on Disney Plus as well.
Okay, and then Eternals comes out in November, and then we get Spider-Man in December. And that leads us into 2022, where we get Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, which is going to bring Phase 4 to a head, and then Thor: Love and Thunder next May.
Yeah. Well, actually, looking at this now, I would venture to say that Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness would essentially be like Phase 4's version of Captain America: Civil War, where there's like this big pivotal moment that shifts everything, that creates this huge, thing that they gotta, which Civil War created a huge rift in how things operate within this universe.
Yes.
Except, in this case, this would be at a much bigger level, further than government level.
It's definitely a bigger scale for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Corbell, what's up?
It'll definitely set the tone for the rest of the MCU. Because if they do everything they're saying they're gonna do, then it's gonna be a huge tone shift.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've already seen that with WandaVision.
Right, and if they continue down that path like they did with WandaVision, then I'm beyond excited for what they're gonna do with Doctor Strange.
Absolutely. Like it's already been rumored. There's the rumors again, that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will be the first official horror film of the MCU.
They're saying it's not going to be a horror film. They're saying it's going to be.
I've heard otherwise. I've heard it both ways. I've
heard.
So
like they started out saying that it was going to be a horror film, and then they said it was going to be a suspense film with horror type sequences. Very similar to how like WandaVision had like the witch corpses and the magic and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be a little bit darker than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, only thing we can do is wait and see. Now, my theory is that they're going to center the next few phases of Marvel movies as like Doctor Strange as their center point.
Yeah.
Because they hinged a lot of stuff on the original big three. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor.
Right.
With
and
Captain
initially
America out of the way.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
With Captain America out of the way and Iron Man gone, I think Doctor Strange is going to kind of fill that Iron Man role, and they're going to try and use the duo of Falcon and the Winter Soldier to pick up the Captain America slack.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thor's still there, but they're trying to pass the buck off of Thor.
I think they're trying to pass that off to Captain Marvel.
I hope not. God, I hope
either
not.
Captain Marvel or, I mean, maybe even Scarlet Witch.
I'd rather
if she comes around.
Yeah, I'd rather that go to Scarlet Witch, but I honestly, the way I see it going is if they pick up the way that they're saying they're going to do with Thor: Love and Thunder, they're going to do the female Thor and Natalie Portman's going to pick up the role as Thor. So it's going to be a very different style of Thor. It's going to be a lot more aggressive and more in your face, not as much of the classic Norse Thor that we are used to.
Yeah.
And I think Scarlet Witch is going to end up falling into the Doctor Strange role.
Okay.
So she's going to be there, be that all-powerful sorcerer, all the while still trying to come into her power. And then if they continue the phases after phase 4, as Doctor Strange moves outwards, Scarlet Witch will eventually edge him out in terms of power scaling.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a shakeup because I remember the initial plan, and it was very apparent when you watch Endgame. The new big 3 was actually supposed to be, and I don't think it's ever been confirmed or anything like that, but it's basically confirmed in my eyes because it was right in front of our eyes. They're literally passing the gauntlet in that end scene in Endgame, when they're literally, like I said, passing the gauntlet through the battlefield, and it showcased 3 main players: Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel. And that was kind of like their hint at this is going to be the next big 3 moving forward. However, obviously, you know, we lost Chadwick Boseman last year, and that's shaken up everything. So a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now, it's crazy to think about it this way, but it's almost as if they had already had contingency plans in place in case anything were to happen with any of the actors that they had that they had in the current slate.
Right. I mean, you saw that they announced that they're doing a show about Wakanda.
Yeah. That's supposedly supposed to be a prequel.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like they're saying it's supposed to be like a lead up to the original Black Panther, or it's supposed to bridge the gap between Endgame and Black Panther 2, which is supposedly still happening. They're just changing the script around.
Yeah, there's massive rewrites, and I think so. From what I've heard, they've talked about bringing back Michael B. Jordan in some fashion, especially since they're going the whole multiverse route with everything, and potentially Michael B. Jordan being the Black Panther of a different universe, and him seemingly getting stuck in our main kind of universe. That's been speculated. There's a lot of talk about his sister Shuri taking the mantle,
which would be comic accurate.
Yeah, which I would actually really enjoy that one.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
But a lot of fans, especially fans of Chadwick Boseman, mainly, not necessarily the Black Panther character, but a lot of fans of Chadwick Boseman are for the Michael B. Jordan idea, simply because they know that Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick Boseman were really good, close friends.
Yeah. And Michael B. Jordan would do the role a great deal of justice, especially with the way he did Killmonger. I mean, it was a phenomenal performance. So I have no doubt that he could play the Black Panther very well.
Yeah, the only problem I could potentially see is that a lot of people are saying that Michael B. Jordan could potentially play this new Superman that Warner Brothers kind of announced under the radar.
Well, we'll see how that happens. I think the whole Warner Brothers plan is going to get shaken up after Thursday.
Oh yeah. Which we'll shelf that talk for next Tuesday.
That's next week's episode.
Yeah, which Husky, if you're out there somewhere, get ready. You're gonna be on with us again.
Yep.
But all right, we got off track. Let's get back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So the way I wanted to structure this is going off of the very first trailer, and then we can touch on some of the later trailers for further clarification on any details. So what I have right here is so I got the trailer up right here. I'm not gonna actually like play the trailer because last week I found I made some oopsies. I had to trim a lot of last week's episode because of copyright issues. But needless to say, so we got this image right here, which a lot of people are pointing towards Madripoor. They believe that this is Madripoor. It has the look This is like, I mean, it makes sense, which raises a lot of questions. Are we going to see any hints to the X-Men this early on in Phase 4? What do you think?
I honestly think if they're going to introduce the X-Men in any way, shape, or form, it would be here, because they did announce, and they showed a logo for it, that it's going to be the mutants.
Yep.
That's what they're calling their X-Men. It's not, and when they do their series, I think it's going to be called the Mutants. And this would be a good way to kind of start bringing that in, because they could go off of a Baron Zemo storyline, and this is starting down that like Mephisto type rabbit hole, but with the grounded timeline that I was talking about earlier. Baron Zemo, post Civil War, goes off to wherever the hell he goes, starts doing these experiments trying to recreate his own Winter Soldier. No one can ever recreate the Super Soldier Serum, but he ends up discovering something about a mutated gene that lies dormant in certain people, sort of like the Maximoff twins. And what if he, in his experiments on trying to find the Super Soldier Serum, he ends up unlocking these certain genes in people, and those are the anarchists that he has following around him, people who have this X gene, because you don't see a lot of them doing things. You only see the one girl who has like super quick reflexes, she can jump really high, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking they might be trying to conceal that on purpose.
So you think these masked thugs are working with Zemo?
I think they might be.
Okay.
The way they're kind of setting it up, it seems like Zemo is the head of everything. He's the focal point. But then again, as we've seen with WandaVision, they love throwing red herrings at us.
Right.
So he may just be kind of a throwaway, like, okay, well, Zemo's the one that kind of set Bucky back onto his own path. So let's focus on him, bring him back. But there's actually something else going on that we're going to bring in that's just going to shock everybody.
So I will say this. My counter argument to that is that in this first clip right here of the trailer, it shows right here, Zemo says superheroes cannot be allowed to exist. And right, let me see if I can get the right spot. So this scene right here, it looks as though we have Bucky and Sam following Zemo. Obviously these guys, you know, we touched on the fact that Sam and Buck are not superpowered individuals. So I think Zemo is enlisting their help in some way, shape, or form, and these masked thugs are a separate faction that have been doing what you're saying, like experimenting with potentially giving themselves abilities, or they even probably figured out that there are people that have this dormant X gene and are working on unlocking it, and Zemo is actually reaching out for their help to stop these people, because
That would be
in a sense Zemo is obviously one of those characters where you can kind of see where he's coming from, and he seems to be the type of person that is mostly operating on his own benefit. So if it means working with the heroes of our story, then so be it. He'll work with them until he no longer sees fit. So that's what I'm thinking. But at the same time, there's another scene with Zemo. I don't know if it's in this particular trailer, but there's another scene where there's a close-up of Zemo and bullets falling down, and if you look closely, it's actually Bucky's hand dropping the bullets. So I'm wondering if that is a scene where Zemo kind of shows his true colors in a sense and tries to pull that Civil War shit on Bucky again to try and reactivate his mind control. But you know, Buck's been free of that for so long now that it no longer affects him. And then Zemo's like, oh shit. I don't think it's in this one. It doesn't seem like it's in this trailer. I
think it's in one of the later ones.
Is it? Let's see. just let this play through real quick. Also, can we just talk about how he's finally getting his comic book accurate look?
Comic mask, yeah, it looks from the look we just got there. It looks so good.
Like right there, dude. I'm so excited for that. Plus, Daniel Bruhl is such a great actor. I fell in love with him in Inglourious Bastards.
I kind of want to talk about that line that's like there on the screen. I have no intention to leave my work. So I think that kind of steps behind your theory a little bit more, that he's been doing stuff behind the scenes, and these thugs are getting in the way.
Mm-hmm. Because it cuts right to them too.
Yeah.
So it almost in like a if it was just a picture book, one could imagine that he says that, and then it cuts to these guys right here. So whatever he's planning, whatever he's been doing, these people are fucking it up.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that one. I mean, like we said, we won't know until we actually watch the episode, but
yeah. It's all speculation at this point.
I think it'd be a very interesting kind of way to go about it, because I mean, like you said, they were both on Cap's side,
right?
So why would they go with what Sword is telling them to do? You know, I mean, I know things are very different post Endgame, because post Thanos, like there are no real sides. Like, I don't know. Everybody was right. Everybody was wrong. Because there are bigger threats out there. And as
so
we'll have
WandaVision.
There's multiversal threats now. So
yeah, and also given the time frame that we talked about previously, where we mentioned that timeline wise, it takes place months after WandaVision.
Right.
But
so
we
the
see
events of WandaVision are definitely out there.
Yeah, so we see in WandaVision that because of the Sokovia Accords, things are still in effect that way. What if, because of the events that happened in WandaVision with, Sword being able to take Vision's body, again, spoiler alert, since Sword was able to retrieve Vision's body from Wakanda and start doing what they did, what if after that they abolished the Sokovia Accords, and that's why Sam and Buck are working with the government again?
I mean, it would make sense, because I mean, if they're trying to stick with a lot of the major storylines from Marvel, which they'd have to rework it a little bit, but I mean, from what we know that they're going from here to the multiverse. Sometime next year, we're supposed to be getting Secret Invasion. And then there were talks about trying to shift the focus back to Captain Marvel and end up doing Civil War 2. So, I mean, if they're going to do that, then they definitely have to abolish the Sokovia Accords, because then they end up bringing back a new iteration of it in Civil War 2.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how they would do it, because Civil War 2 is Captain Marvel versus Iron Man.
Which Iron Man is, yeah. Which, just side note, I would actually love for them to actually bring back Robert Downey Jr., but not bring back Robert Downey Jr. per se, because if you know the comics as well as I do, you know that there have been moments where, in the comic books, Tony Stark was technically dead, but he also uploaded his consciousness and created an AI similar to Jarvis, and now you have a Tony Stark AI,
which you saw a glimpse of in Spider-Man.
Yep. So I don't know, that
it gave to Peter.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a pretty cool way to bring back Robert Downey Jr., where he doesn't actually have to be that. I mean, he could probably do like some like motion capture type stuff every now and then if they wanted to do the legit like the blue like hologram Tony Stark. That would be pretty cool for a couple scenes. But for the most part, he could just do voice acting for a little bit,
That'd be
but let's see, where do we leave off?
So we were talking about the masked people.
Yeah.
Then you get a nice scene of both Bucky and Sam using the shield.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because I remember when I first wrote that down, it almost seems as though that, you know, you have these two guys that are kind of potentially competing for the mantle of Captain America in a sense. But from everything that I've seen, it seems as though that they're pointing everything to Sam becoming Captain America, like he does in the comic books, which I mean, Bucky does as well, but more recently in the comic books, Falcon ends up becoming the new Captain America.
Right.
And Buck's already kind of laid that groundwork in previous films where he's kind of like, you know, that's not for me kind of thing. Like, you know, so that's what that's what I'm looking at.
I think this show's gonna kind of end the whole who's gonna get it question that we've been asking for so many movies. Because I mean, ever since Captain America: The Winter Soldier, people have been making those theories like, okay, well, Bucky's not gonna stay brainwashed forever. He's gonna end up being on Cap's side eventually, and then once Cap either dies or gets lost in time, whatever they're gonna do, because they eventually always end up getting rid of Steve Rogers as Captain America in some capacity. Everyone's like, okay, well, he's going to take up the mantle at least for a while, and then eventually Sam Wilson will take it because Sebastian Stan's not going to want to be in the movies forever, but Anthony Mackie might be in there longer because he's younger. So everybody's been back and forth like, okay, well, when Chris Evans stops being Steve Rogers, who's going to become the new Captain America? Is it going to be Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier? Is it going to be Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson? And I think this show's going to kind of tiptoe around that a little bit more and then finally give us an answer. Either one of them becomes it or neither of them becomes it. Because I think in my theory, where that scene where they show the big A in the football field, I'm thinking what ends up happening is, and this is my own theory, I think that Sam and Bucky are not working with the government. I think I want to shift that over to your theory with they're actually working with Zemo to help take out whoever these masked thugs are. While they're working on trying to figure out which one of them is going to be the actual Captain America, Sword and the government has decided to bring in, I think his name was Agent America or American Agent.
U.S. agent.
U.S. Agent. And I think that's who they're kind of portraying there, because you didn't get a good shot at whoever was walking out in the Stars and the Stripes.
Right, but I mean, anyone who's been paying attention, obviously, like the trailer, I feel like was geared more towards people who kind of don't really know what the hell's going on, in that sense. But we all know Wyatt Russell confirmed to be U.S. agent. They said that at Comic-Con eons ago, whenever we could still go out and socialize and shit. And so yeah, Wyatt Russell was cast as U.S. agent, which is an amazing choice in my opinion. Because if you know anything about U.S. agent, he's kind of like the Punisher, but with stars and stripes. So I'm kind of excited for that, especially since I recently watched Overlord, that like Nazi zombies movie.
Oh yeah.
And Wyatt Russell's in that. And he's just a fucking badass of a U.S. soldier in that fucking movie. And if that's any inclination as to what they could potentially do with U.S. Agent, especially if what we've seen in WandaVision and all the rumors are true that Marvel is actually kind of moving towards a darker kind of tone, we could have one badass of a character here. The only issue though is, and I can't remember where I heard this, but someone stated that Captain America is a defender. He is not. That's why he chose the shield over the gun, so to speak. So when they start to see that U.S. Agent is kind of brutal and kind of fucking like, you know, like ruthless and shit, they're like, okay, no, we can't fucking have this. We can't let him be the face of Captain America. Hold on, I gotta fix this light because this. Oh, okay, it just shut off on me. That's cool. That's cool too. Go ahead, bud. You do you.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with it. I would be very excited if they did U.S. Agent as long as they handle it better than they did the Iron Patriot. Because when they teased Iron Patriot and Iron Man 3, I got so excited.
I was so pissed off about that.
That storyline was going to be so good when they were like, oh, Rhodey's going to be the Iron Patriot. I'm just like, yo, I was hyped. And then I saw it, and I was just like, no.
Well, see, when I first heard Iron Patriot, I never even realized that, I never saw that they were saying that Rhodey was going to be the Iron Patriot. I just heard that Iron Patriot is going to make an appearance. I'm like, yo, hold up. Did they crack a deal with Sony? They're bringing in fucking Norman Osborn?
Right.
Because Norman Osborn was originally the Iron Patriot from the comic books that I read.
Yeah.
So
after the Green Goblin mantle gets passed on, he ends up experimenting more and realized that he can actually like kind of tame his Goblin serum to a point, and ends up making the Iron Patriot as like sort of his own weird kind of redemption thing.
Yeah.
From what I remember. But I was super excited when they were going to do that, and I was just like, okay, I mean, they're going to play off a nice little storyline with the Iron Patriot in their own way. I'm good with that. But then they did what they did, and it was such a flop.
Let's be honest. Iron Man 3 was probably, I would say Iron Man 3 was probably a couple lines away from being the next Edward Norton Hulk film. One of the ones where we just, I mean, even now it's very, yeah. I mean, I get on that front where there's a lot to enjoy from Edward Norton's film, but the fact that they kind of just ignore a lot of what happened in Edward Norton's Hulk film and kind of just retcon everything in secret. It's like, oh yeah, they're just gonna move on from that. Like I feel like
the only thing we retained from that was General Ross, the same character, plays the same guy in all the other future films.
Facts. Which also the whole Extremis story arc was mishandled.
It's such a big story arc. You can't wrap it up into one movie. And when you're trying to wrap your movie into an overall cinematic story, like I mean, in Iron Man
they could have followed Iron Man Extremis beat for beat. And it still would have been amazing. Just change like the beginning a little bit and the end a little bit, and you still could have had it fit in with their current line of movies.
And take out the whole idea of the Mandarin. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
They had that in there completely unnecessarily, and it was like they.
Well, we're actually going to see that come to fruition in Shang-Chi. Thankfully, though.
Finally. I'm excited for that. I think they're finally going to correct what they mishandled in Iron Man 3 as far as the Mandarin.
Well, they kind of settled that with do you remember the Marvel one-shots?
Mm-hmm.
So they had that little one-shot where the guy that was portraying the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 was in jail. To anyone who hasn't seen that yet, so Ben Kingsley, who portrayed the fake Mandarin, was approached by another jailmate and was basically like the real Mandarin sends his regards or whatever. And you see like the 10 rings tattoo on him. I think it was actually on his hand or something like that. But yeah, so
tattoo has been showing up in a lot of different little Easter eggs here and there.
Well, it was shown in the first Iron Man.
Yep. Well, I mean, the 10 rings started in Iron Man 1. I mean, that's who kidnapped Tony Stark to begin with. That's who set everything in motion, was the 10 rings.
Yeah.
And then it showed up again in I don't know if it was an accident or not, but it showed up in a still from WandaVision, if I'm not mistaken. And then it showed up, and then it showed up in Civil War as well. It was one of those like blink and you miss it things, but those screens like scour through the old Marvel movies now that Shang-Chi got announced. And they're like, okay, well, what's the 10 rings? How far back does it go? And everyone's like, oh, well, it started here, it showed up here, here, and here, and everyone's just like, oh my god, 10 rings have been here the entire time. What's the deal with that?
Been here all along. Which I find it kind of cool because I feel like it'd be kind of like that the Court of Owls in Batman, how they're kind of like always there and they're kind of always pulling the strings. We just didn't know it.
Yeah, I think they should kind of delve into that route because I mean, comic book wise, the lore for the 10 rings is there. They're a very League of Shadows type organization, and I think they could have the potential to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Real quick, Husky has a question in chat. Go ahead and ask your question. I'm gonna fix this freaking light.
I will keep on the lookout for the question. Go ahead.
I gotta like go through the freaking.
While we wait for that question, I want to mention we are finishing up talking about Bucky and Falcon both using the shield. I personally think that they're gonna end up giving Sam Wilson the shield at the end. They put a lot of they put a lot of emphasis on Sam Wilson in a lot of the trailers, so I think he's gonna end up being the new Captain America by the end of the show, or at least on the way there. Alright, so Husky asks, how can he do all the stuff with the shield when he ain't got no super soldier serum? I assume Cap and Bucky able to do what they did is based on that.
So I would say Falcon is maxing out his bench press. This man is in the gym 24/7 just so he can lift that thing.
What I ended up finding out, because I was rewatching some of the other Marvel movies, in Age of Ultron, they show that Cap has super magnets in his gauntlets that he uses to retract the shield and pick it up quickly. Like, all the little acrobatic things that you do with the shield is actually magnet based, so he can throw it like a frisbee. The vibranium basically does the work, and then you activate the magnet and it pulls the shield back to your arm.
And
Captain
also
Bucky
with
can do that stuff a lot more effortlessly.
Well, with my joke aside, it's actually stated that I'm pretty sure vibranium is like the lightest metal as well.
Yes.
The strongest, but also the lightest. Because the atoms, it's called vibranium because all the atoms are constantly vibrating the entire time. So in a way, fucking science makes it lighter. So that's my guess. That's my guess.
The way Howard Stark designed the shield was that it was supposed to be the lightest metal, constantly moving, and in the most aerodynamic type shape, which is why they never went with the tri-tip shield.
Right.
In the movies, they went straight for the round shield because it was supposed to be the most aerodynamic, the most balanced. So like it bounces off and does those things, but the quick return thing, that's all technology, I'm assuming, developed by Stark.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tony at one point there's like a quick scene where he like built like that thing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Age of Ultron where he kicks up the shield or whatever, like activates something on his like glove and it just like goes straight to it. Yeah, okay.
Like a blue warble effect almost right by his wrist. You
get
a close up of it only in that movie. They never even mention it again later.
Yeah. So it's kind of like one of those things like, hey, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention?
Yeah.
Let's see.
So I think the main thing is like it comes natural to Cap and Bucky because of the super soldier serum, and Bucky can kind of just use his robot arm to catch it. But I think the whole point of them showing Sam practicing with the shield is that he has to get used to catching it and throwing it and using this technology. He's so used to just using the wings that he has to now get used to using almost both. And I'm hoping they kind of dive into the fact that he starts to use both, because in the comics that was a big thing for him. He could use one or the other, but he couldn't use both at the same time for a long time.
Yeah.
Because there was a point in time where he was using the wings offensively, and then the shield was there as like a defensive thing to save his wings.
Right.
So I hope they dive into that a little bit more in this show.
One last little thing about the trailer that I want to pick up on is so Sharon Carter, Agent 13, shows back up, and the first scene we see with her is that she is something just fell down. Hold on, I gotta go take a look at that. 1 second.
Okay.
All right, and this is why we have an editing program. Yeah, I guess my mother-in-law came home and dropped a whole bunch of groceries down the stairs. All right, so Agent 13 shows up, and the first thing that we see is that she has them at gunpoint.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming. So going back on my theory that they're working with Zemo, Sam and Buck are working with Zemo. Agent 13 is trying to track down Zemo, working for the government. And
that's where her storyline left off at the end of Civil War, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's trying to track down Zemo ever since Civil War. Which got interrupted by the whole Thanos thing, but now she probably ends up getting a lead and ends up finding that Bucky and Sam are working with Zemo.
Which also leads me to believe that somehow, maybe during the blip or something like that, because Zemo was in captivity at the end of Civil War, so somehow he escaped, and then that's why she's trying to track him down. And then as she's trying,
where were they holding him? Were they holding him at the Avengers compound, or were they holding him in like a government facility?
I think he would have been at the raft.
Oh, right, you're right. If he's at the raft, then who else got out from the raft?
Yeah. Well, who else was even in the raft though?
Whiplash would have been there.
Yeah. Abomination.
Abomination was there. I know Loki was supposed to end up there, but then that whole thing got kind of screwy because of Endgame. Which I guess they'll explore in the Loki TV show.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else would be there.
Which I think that's what leads. I think that might be what leads to them being like talking to the psychoanalyst. Because then Sharon Carter explains what's going on, probably explains some further exposition involving Zemo, and they're like, "Oh shit, yeah, no, he's no good. So we'll work with you." And then that's when they start working with the government and stuff like that again.
And Ross probably makes him go see a psychoanalyst because they probably never even got debriefed about what happened with Thanos. So they have to deal with the fact that Cap's gone and they're kind of stuck with each other and they don't exactly like each other. For like majority of the movies, they're kind of just working together because Cap told them to for a while.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that would make the most sense if they're gonna run this show linearly. That they start out by working with Zemo. Carter intervenes because she's been tracking Zemo and convinces them like, hey, we've kind of restructured things. And that would actually explain a lot more, because if this is happening after WandaVision, I'm sure Sword got restructured after Hayward was arrested.
Yeah.
Spoilers. And that would mean that Sword would probably be a little bit more trustworthy at this point if they have the right people running things.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
And there's also the wild card that they could throw in there like they did with WandaVision, and Sharon Carter's actually just a Skrull, because they are leading the secret invasion as like an endgame like thing. So
True.
Who knows how many people are Skrulls?
Yeah. Damn. What if they go back and the Black Widow we saw in Endgame was a Skrull?
Huh.
Imagine that.
Because you said the Black Widow movie takes place between Civil War and Infinity War? Wait, does it take place between Civil War and Infinity War, or is it between those 5 years of Infinity War?
It's between Civil War and Infinity War.
Okay. Huh. It is possible, because I mean, in that timeline, Nick Fury and Maria Hill were replaced by Skrulls.
Yep.
Huh.
Even though it seems, well, I mean, in that case, it was Talos and another like good Skrull. But the whole point of the secret invasion, but I mean, then again, it could have just been. What if in that sense the good Skrulls were kind of replacing the idea of the LMDs? in the comic books, because a lot of times in like the Shield agents and stuff like that, they would use life model decoys as a way to kind of like keep people safe from more fatal missions.
Well, okay, so I think that would create a little bit of a sticky situation as far as continuity goes, because losing Natasha to the Soul Stone from Clint, wouldn't the Soul Stone know the difference? Or does it read it as Clint doesn't know the difference, so he feels that he's lost Natasha?
Maybe that because it feels what's in the soul, you know? It feels the emotion. I don't know. Who knows? It's just
so
that's just a throwaway rumor.
So now we have to ask, what is a soul? 3-hour episode 2.
My God.
Here we go. Deep diving.
Oh my God.
What is a soul?
And on that note, we're gonna start wrapping things up with some rumors and theories that I have heard going around the Twitterverse and the Reddit and the Instagrams. So some of the top rumors that I've heard is that Batroc the Leaper is gonna return in some capacity. Omega Red is supposedly to appear, going along with the Madripoor rumor or speculation. I don't know. That one I take with a heavy grain of salt.
I mean,
because
if he does appear, he would be in that group of thugs for sure.
Yeah, but that would be wild to see. So I wrote this down, not like just because I was just like, I think I was just hopped up on coffee. So IMDb had listed a Latvian fan, not realizing it wasn't Latvarian. And so
I thought you might have just made a typo, because I'm sitting here reading and I'm like, Latvia.
Yeah, so I immediately was like, Doctor Doom? Doctor Doom? But no. But it also spawned to another thought that what if that's not Madripoor we're seeing, but it's actually Latveria. But no, it's no. There's another IMDb listing, Sarah Wilson. So I'm assuming that maybe we see a little bit more backstory on Falcon with his family, because Sarah Wilson is known to be Sam's sister in the comic books.
Yeah. Yep. That would be cool to see a little bit more deep dive like into his actual character and his backstory some more. We don't have a whole lot. We just have that he was a war vet and he was helping people adjust to everyday life, and then he just goes right into being Falcon with Captain America.
Yeah, so it would be nice to have a little bit more depth to his character. And last, from what I have is I noticed there's GRC security listed, and that made me I tried searching like GRC Marvel and nothing really came up. So maybe it's just a fictional thing that's made up for the sake of the show. Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, those are most of the rumors that I heard. There is a rumor mill stirring about the introduction of the mutants in this show in some way, shape, or form. There's talks that they're gonna pick up on some of the red herrings that they dropped in WandaVision, like the aerospace engineer and a couple other like little red herrings they threw at us that kind of made sense for WandaVision, but would definitely make more sense here.
Okay.
Because with the Fantastic Four being like cosmic type entities, they're still very much faced with grounded type enemies.
Right.
Like Doctor Doom, at least for a certain while, is a very science-based villain. Along with a few of their others, and
until he acquires the ability to use magic, but
well, yeah, that's way later in the comics. It's like that's approaching god level Doom, so we're definitely not there, and we haven't even had a good iteration of Doom be introduced yet.
Yeah. Please give us a good Doom.
Please, oh my god. There are so many good options out there. We'll save that for our fan casting episode that we're going to do later on.
Oh yes, absolutely. We got to plan that out.
Yeah, we'll plan that one. But yeah, that's basically all the ones I heard. A lot of it's circling around the introduction of mutants, but we've been waiting for that for a while since they've acquired the rights to Fox's properties.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect them to start pulling out that type of stuff this early on, considering that the Disney Fox acquisition was relatively recent, like within the last 2 years or so.
It was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and then obviously with COVID and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they've probably had plenty of time to do like rewrites and then maybe reshoots at some point. So who knows? Who knows?
Yep.
But I think,
see.
yeah, I think that that closes out episode 2. Thankfully, much shorter than last week. I will be fully transparent in saying that we definitely bit off more than we could chew last week.
We had too much dip on our chip.
Yeah. Which I mean, as an opening episode, you know what? I said, fuck it. Let's just go all out.
Yeah.
Let's have a ball and start just chatting away. But I think from here on out, we're gonna try and keep things down to like 45 minutes to an hour. Kind of just get the meat and potatoes, and we'll leave the green bean casserole for another day.
Well, what happens when we start talking about Snyder Cut next week? I mean, Lord knows.
Yeah, no, Snyder Cut might actually be another lengthy one.
I'd say give us like an hour and a half, because it's you, me, and Husky, and
oh yeah,
we're gonna start nerding hard.
Oh yeah,
especially if it's as good as we know it's gonna be. So
yeah,
I'm excited. 2 days.
But that wraps up episode 2, guys. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week. Like Jagger said, we're gonna be talking about the Snyder Cut. We're gonna recap it. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna probably talk about the potential of the Snyderverse coming back, and Warner Brothers probably stepping down from their current run of movies. But Husky will be joining us again for that next week, and it's gonna be a blast. I hope to see you guys there again. So Jagger, you have a good night.
You
Chat,
too, man. You
have a good night, and I will catch you guys in a little bit here if you're still on Twitch. I'm gonna be jumping into some Overwatch here in a little bit. But YouTube, thank you, and have a good night.